On New Year's Eve, I asked, "Do we have a place at the table?" My dad replied, "Seats are only for important people." My brother laughed, "Stand and watch like always." I quietly left. The next afternoon, he called me shaking. "I need $14,000 immediately." I whispered back, "Happy New Year. Ask the important people." And then, it's a strange kind of pain hearing things like that from the people you grew up with. The people who know your laugh, your old bedrooms, your worst mistakes. You don't expect kindness from strangers, but your own family that hits differently. All I wanted was for us to be together. That was it. Just one evening, one meal, one night where I wouldn't have to explain to my kids why we always feel like guests in the place I once called home. I'd been asking for 2 weeks. "Can we come by for New Year's? Do you want me to bring dessert or drinks? Should I pick up something for the kids?" Every message got short answers, pulled distant like they were doing me a favor by even replying. But I still convinced myself I was reading too much into it. I wanted it to work out for the twins. Lily and Jonah had been talking about seeing their cousins all week. I let them help me make the casserole, the same one Mom used to ask for every year. They picked out matching little outfits, wrapped gifts, and shiny paper, and kept peeking out the window to see if it was time to go yet. We arrived around 6 o'clock. There were 10 cars in the driveway. I should have known. Inside the house was loud, warm, music playing, people drinking wine and laughing. My mom's table was glowing with candles and silverware. Every seat was taken. My parents, both of my brothers and their wives, their kids, even a couple of neighbors. Full plates, open wine bottles, happy chaos. But no plates for us, not even space. I stood there holding the casserole dish, my kids close behind me. No one looked up. I said, "Is there a spot for us at the table?" My dad didn't even flinch. "Seats are for important people." Mark, standing next to the fireplace, burst out laughing. "Stand and watch like always." Everyone kept eating. That was it. I didn't argue. I didn't make a scene. I put the casserole on the counter, took my kids by the hand, and we walked back out. The cold air hit harder than I expected. We ended up in a booth at a diner off Route 9. A waitress in a New Year's headband brought the kids chocolate milk. I let them eat waffles with ice cream. They thought it was the best night ever. I watched the fireworks through the windshield while they slept in the back seat, still holding their gift bags. The next day, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I got a call from Mark. I didn't pick up at first. Then I saw he called again and again. I finally answered. He didn't ask how I was. He didn't say a word about the night before. He just said, voice shaking, "Emily, I need $14,000 right now. It's life or death." I stayed quiet. He kept talking. Something about a collapsed lung and uninsured procedure paperwork gone wrong. The hospital refusing to go forward unless they paid half up front. He said Mom and Dad couldn't do it. Natalie had maxed out their credit cards. He was desperate. I whispered, "Happy New Year, Mark. Ask the important people." Then I hung up. 5 minutes later, Mom called, then Natalie, then Dad. My phone kept buzzing for hours. Missed calls, voicemails, texts piling up. I didn't answer any of them. And that's when I knew I was only invisible until they needed something. Then suddenly I was family again, but not because they missed me. Not because they loved me, because they were sinking and they thought I'd be the one to save them. By the end of the first week, I stopped counting how many times my phone rang. Mark, Natalie, you Mom, Dad, everyone who had ignored me the night of New Year was now blowing up my phone like we were best friends. Every voicemail was urgent. Every text sounded like a countdown. At one point, Natalie even sent one that said, "If he dies, it'll be on your conscience." They didn't even pretend to care about what happened. Not one of them mentioned the table, the empty plates, the look on my kids' faces when we left. All that was erased like it never happened, as if none of it mattered now that their backs were against the wall. I stayed quiet. I didn't answer, didn't reply, but I listened to every voicemail. Mark left one that sounded like he hadn't slept in days. He said, "I know I haven't been the best brother. I know I messed up, but this isn't about pride or grudges. This is life or death. They won't operate unless we pay." I wouldn't be asking if I had any other option. It shook me, not because I believed he changed, but because despite everything, he was still my brother. And then Natalie sent the photo. Mark in a hospital gown, lying half upright in a bed. Tubes in his nose. His eyes were closed. The message under it just said $14,000, or they send him home. No hi, no context, just that. I stared at it for minutes, then locked my phone, then unlocked it again. I don't even know how long I sat there going back and forth in my head. I kept hearing my dad's voice from the night before. Seats are for important people. And Mark laughing. But now he was the one on the edge, and I was the only one left to hold the rope. I didn't sleep that night. I got up early, dropped the kids at school, and went to the bank. I transferred $7,000. Huff. That was more than I'd ever spent on anything that wasn't related to my children. But I did it. I called my mother to tell her. She sounded relieved, but cold. Not a single thank you. Just asked when the rest would come. I said there was no rest. That was it. She hung up. Mark called me that night. He said, "Thank you, Emily. Seriously, you saved my life. I'm going to pay you back. I swear as soon as I'm out of here." He didn't sound like he was lying, but I didn't let myself feel anything. 2 weeks passed. The surgery went well. Natalie posted a long dramatic update on Facebook, full of hearts, hashtags, and words like miracle and gratitude. She wrote, "We've made it through the storm. Thank you for all the prayers and support. Family really is everything." I read it 3 times. My name wasn't there. My help wasn't mentioned. To everyone else, I didn't exist. I was just a shadow standing outside the glow of their perfect little world that I gave them a few more weeks. I didn't ask for the money right away. I told myself maybe they were still recovering. Maybe they needed time. Then one afternoon, I sent a polite message, just checking in. "Do you know when you'll be able to return the $7,000? Things are getting a little tight on my end.it was marked seen." No reply. I waited 2 more days, then asked again. This time Natalie responded. She said they were still going through a lot, that Mark wasn't back at work yet, and things were emotionally draining. She hoped I could be patient during this fragile chapter. Then she asked if I could help just a little more with new medications and extra rehab costs. Only a couple thousand, she said, just to get them over the hump. That was the moment it hit me. They never planned to pay me back. To them, I wasn't a sister. I wasn't family. I was a wallet they'd tucked away and decided to reach into again. That I sent one word back. No explanation. No emotion. Just a door closed. I already knew what they'd say. That I was selfish. That I didn't care if Mark died. That I was bitter and vengeful over something small, like a family dinner. But I knew the truth. I'd raised 2 kids on my own. I'd worked 2 jobs. I'd survived 2 years of being frozen out by my own blood. I wasn't heartless, but I wasn't naive either. And if they thought they could drain me and walk away, they were about to learn what happens when the unimportant one finally says no. After I told Natalie no, I expected silence. What I got was worse. The next morning, a message from my mom. "I heard you refused to help again. We're all struggling, Emily. Maybe think of someone other than yourself for once." That word again. As if I hadn't already burned through half my emergency savings for the same people who hadn't even saved me a seat at the table. I didn't reply. I thought it was over. It wasn't. Later that week, Natalie showed up at my doorstep uninvited. I saw her through the peephole, holding a box of bakery cookies and wearing a forced smile. I opened the door just enough to hear her. She said she only wanted to talk, that they were in a desperate spot, and that she was sorry things had gotten tense. She held out the cookies like that would fix everything. Then she got to the real reason. More money. This time, $5,000. For Mark's continued recovery. She said Mark wasn't bouncing back the way they'd hoped. Said the hospital bills were piling up and the insurance company had pulled something shady. I stood there in silence, not moving, not speaking. She kept going. At one point she said, "You have the ability to help. I don't know why you're punishing us." That's when I shut the door. 2 days later, Mark called. He didn't ask this time, he demanded. Said I owed him for saving me from a lot worse years ago, whatever that meant. Said family steps up. Said if the roles were reversed, he would have given me everything. It took everything in me not to laugh. Instead, I said, "You won't see another cent." The next day, it got uglier. My parents called a family meeting at their house. Told me I needed to come and talk this through face to face. I didn't want to go. I knew it would be a trap. But part of me wanted to see how far they'd go. So I went. I left Lily and Jonah with a neighbor and drove over after dinner. When I walked in, it felt like an intervention. Everyone was sitting in the living room. Mom, Dad, Mark, Natalie, like some twisted family tribunal. They didn't even bother pretending it was about peace. My mom opened with, "We think it's time you stop holding this money over everyone's head." I didn't say a word. Just sat there, and let them unravel. My dad said it made no sense that I couldn't spare a few thousand more since I didn't have a mortgage or a husband to support. Mark jumped in about how we all carry each other. And Natalie actually pulled out a notebook with itemized expenses, like I was some loan officer. I waited until they were done. Then I said, "You're not asking, you're expecting." And the answer is no. I stood up and walked out. No one followed. No one called after me. That was the last time I ever saw them in that house. A week later, I got a text from Natalie. "We've decided we won't be repaying the $7,000. Given the circumstances, we believe it was a gift." A gift. That was the moment the guilt evaporated. They hadn't just taken from me. They had decided I didn't deserve boundaries, rights, or even basic respect. And now they were rewriting history to soothe their conscience. But they'd overlooked one thing. It wasn't a gift that I had the wire transfer records, the text messages, the voicemails. I printed every single one and walked into a lawyer's office with the stack. There's something surreal about saying, "This is what my family did to me." You expect disbelief, maybe shock, but the lawyer didn't flinch. He'd seen it before. The transfer receipt, Mark's voicemails, Natalie's text, even the email from my dad calling me selfish. It was all more than enough. He told me flat out, "This isn't a misunderstanding. This is debt, and it's enforceable." We drafted a repayment demand, clear, formal, and signed. 14 days to return the $7,000, or we'd take it to court. I knew it would shake them. What I didn't expect was the reply that it didn't come from Mark. It came from my father. He didn't just ignore the legal tone. He spat on it. His email to my lawyer accused me of weaponizing a moment of crisis. My dad accused me of tearing the family apart for money and warned I'd regret it, the same threat he used when I was a kid. I told my lawyer to file. For days later, my youngest brother Ryan, who'd been quietly in a family group chat that excluded me, called, sent screenshots of their messages mocking and planning to call the loan a gift, and said he believed me. Their panic led Mark's lawyer to offer a quiet settlement. I refused. At court, the evidence, the transfer receipts, voicemails, texts, and the group chat screenshots, was clear. The judge ruled I was owed the $7,000 plus fees, repayable in 30 days. I won, but felt only exhaustion. On day 28, the money appeared from Natalie's account with no note. That night, my mom texted, "We've made our decision. Don't contact us." My dad unfollowed me, Mark blocked me, and Natalie posted a vague quote about snakes and family masks. After the court ruling, I didn't chase their silence. Life just grew quieter. No calls, no birthdays, no guilt-laced reminders. Lily and Jonah stopped asking about their grandparents, and I never explained. One day, I'll tell them, not out of spite, but because they deserve to know what it costs to keep your dignity. Ryan stayed. He showed up with pizza, helped fix cabinets, played board games with the twins. He never brought up the case again, just acted like family should. One night on the porch, he told me, "You never stopped being one of us. They just couldn't handle that you stopped needing them." That's when I finally cried. Months passed. I moved us into a bigger apartment. Nothing fancy, but the twins had their own rooms. It felt like starting over. Then an envelope came, a $1,000 money order in Mark's handwriting. No note, no apology. I put it in a drawer, never cashed it. It wasn't what I needed. The holidays passed with no cards, no calls. On Christmas Eve, Ryan came instead. He built Legos with the kids, stayed until midnight, and before leaving said, "I thought we were all on the same team. I was wrong, but I won't make that mistake again." Sometimes I still drive past my parents' neighborhood. I feel nothing, just stillness, like looking at a house that no longer belongs to me. Maybe they rewrote the story to make themselves the heroes. I'm done rewriting mine. Now I have enough. Not in the bank, but in laughter, in the mirror, in Ryan who stayed, and in two kids who know what love feels like. Every New Year's Eve, I set out 3 chairs. Not for anyone else, just for us. Because we don't stand outside the table anymore. We belong.